Hey, this is Gary Mintchell, and this edition of Automation Minutes is another in a series on leadership. And I just returned from Orlando in the ARC Advisory Group Forum, and this is the 14th year I've done that, and it's always a really good place to meet lots of people, both from the supplier community and from the end user community. And this was a great one for consolidating a lot of observations I've made over the years and seeing some things that still need to be done. And talking about leadership, in this case I'm talking about in the automation industry. It might be weird to call automation industry, but it's all the people involved in process automation, manufacturing automation. It's making plants and factories run better and integrating actually beyond just the individual process with the including also the whole business. So, a couple of things. Over the years, a really dedicated group of people exhibiting a heck of a lot of industry leadership have put together some things called ISA 88, which is a description and model and interrelationships of batch processes. And then there's another group called ISA 95. And this is a similar description for the next levels up with the old famous Purdue hierarchy. And it's more what we call commonly the MES level and connecting to the ERP level of an enterprise. And so they've worked for years. There's a lot of standards. It's been adopted. A lot of these are ANSI standard now, and even IEC standards, and it's really helped people organize their thinking and their processes and the way they do these kinds of processes. It's been fantastic. And you go to an event like what I just was at, and you see the fruits. When you go to all these sessions and you see people just using these things, and they're using them to help integrate their processes and have processes talk to systems and talk more broadly to help make their manufacturing enterprises more efficient and productive and profitable. And so the leaders who did all this are greatly to be commended. And as I've thought about and planned this little podcast, I've been thinking of making a list, but I don't know all of them. I personally know a bunch, and if I started to read them all out, I'd forget a half a dozen and hurt somebody's feelings, and I don't want to do that. It's a lot of people involved, and it's really great, and I've always encouraged people to get involved in these things. The work's not done. They're still doing some work, and beyond these two, there's another organization called MIMOSA, and that has to do with operations and maintenance standardization, but it's the same kind of deal that we're talking about. So, and now that's joining together, and it's all coming together. There's a lot of stuff coming on. There's kind of an offshoot of ISA 88 called PACML for describing packaging machines, and I believe that the same kind of thinking could describe other machines too. And the reason for doing all that would be so that if somebody buys a machine, it's described, and they know what the states are and the descriptions of the states. And when they put it in, operators can pick up a new machine from a different company and realize and understand how it operates a lot faster, minimize training, get the machine in use faster, which is a great competitive advantage, by the way. If you're an OEM and you're looking for that, you say, my machine follows these standards, and you will cut a week out of the time it takes to get it installed up and implemented and running, and that means you have one more week of productivity, and what's that worth to you? A lot of money. So anyway, a lot of leadership going on all these, and I just compliment all the people doing that, and I think that it's good for all of you listening to me. Is there an area of expertise that you can get involved in that would help propel this? In my life, I have been chairman of a standards and technical committee, so I know some of the political hazards of all this, and I've been on other committees. I've been on a couple of ASTM committees. I've been on a NASHRAE committee. I've been on a UL committee. And so it's, I talk about this stuff, and to some degree, I know what I'm talking about. And I know the work that's involved in the volunteer effort and so on. And I just really saw at ARC this week the fruition of all this effort. And so I think all these guys that have been involved should also personally take my thanks and others and just step back and think about what they saw and say, we've accomplished a lot. It's really cool, and there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of the work of ISA 95 is picked up by the MIMOSA International Organization. Charlie Gifford has been involved with the ISA 95 work as well as with MIMOSA, and he has developed a training curriculum, and he's put together actually a team of people to put out a new book published by ISA. I don't have it yet, or I'd put it up and show you, but I'm looking forward to getting that book. And he's put together a training and certification program for MIMOSA, and he's going out on the road, and you can actually learn more about what's going on with MOM, Manufacturing Operations Management Software, and how to do it and how to implement it, how to sell it internally to your organization. And so that's going on the road to a city near you sometime. Check out Automation World or mesa.org and find the locations. And that will be very good. So we still have ongoing work going on, so you can still get involved in this leadership. One organization, I don't want to criticize any of the leadership, but I think needs not new leaders necessarily, but like a break, like a little meditative break where you stop and relax and you say Om and just kind of calm down, would be ISA 100. I still believe that wireless sensor networks, as part of the overall, I mean, wireless is huge in manufacturing and production, and there's a ton of uses that we're already doing. It could use more. It could save a lot of money. I heard representatives of 4 major refining companies talk about how important it is for them to get a wireless standard and use more wireless so that they can reduce their costs, because refining is slim margin. A lot of money in oil, but the refining part of it is pretty slim margin, and they need to squeeze everything they can get. So we have a bit of a bottleneck yet. ISA 100 has been meeting for quite some time. They did develop a standard, and it's adopted by ISA, but it didn't make it as an ANSI standard and therefore into IEC. And they're still working. They're working darn hard. Meanwhile, another group of people decided they didn't want to wait, or whatever reason, and I can't ascribe motives, and I'm not going to talk individual people or what's called ad hominem, in other words, personal attacks against people. There's no place for that. But they took the HART standard, put wireless with it, and did a wireless HART. Now that's a very simple explanation. That's non-technical for sure. But anyway, the wireless HART standard became an IEC standard, so it is a true international standard. And now, one thing that they're trying to do within this ISA 100 committee is converge the two. And unfortunately, we have some battle lines drawn, and it's just like politics. There's a whole spectrum from it's got to be all the way this to it's got to be all the way that, and people kind of creeping in towards some kind of convergence. These are solutions, by the way. And I had a major refining guy, I guess you could say executive, talk to me. He said, Gary, he says, for some reason we're getting out of engineering because we're arguing the solution before we define the problem. He said, first you talk about all the problems, then you pick a solution that fits. And he said, we're just spending too much time arguing theory. And I'll take him at his word. I'm just passing that along, but it's something to think about. And so I'm thinking this ISA 100 thing, we had a panel discussion at ARC, representatives of four refining end users, moderated by Harry Forbes of ARC, and clearly they said we want one standard. So afterwards I went up to a couple of guys, and I didn't ask permission to use their name, so I won't, but I said, what do you mean by one standard? Is this political, it's ISA 100 or nothing, or what? I said, you've got the wireless HART, you have the Chinese standard, and I didn't look up that number, but there's a Chinese standard that's similar in all this. And he told me, he says, Gary, what we want is to converge what we've got existing in ISA 100, of which there are technical reasons we want stuff from that's beyond wireless HART. We want to converge wireless HART into that, and then we want to converge the Chinese standard and then get truly one truly international global wireless standard. And I think if they're going to do that, the leaders of all the different conflicting things are just going to have to take a deep breath and say, wait a minute, let's forget all this bygones, and let's forget all this stuff that's going on with ad hominem stuff and ascribing political motives to people and companies and things, and just take a deep breath, stop, say, okay, what is the solution and how can we move it, and let's go. And so that would be my challenge to these people: is let's do that. Let's start breaking down these barriers, and let's start exhibiting true leadership, and let's get this thing moving, because definitely a lot of end users really want one standard, and they would like to see the best of wireless HART with the best of ISA 100 with the best of the Chinese standard, get it converged so that end users can with confidence buy products that will truly work together, that will meet the needs of what they see that they need. And I think this is very important. I think it's very important to move our industry forward. So, just look at all these other committees that have hashed all this stuff out and come out with some tremendous things that we're using to really make progress. And now let's do that with wireless too, and do the same thing. So anyway, this is Gary Mintchell. It's on leadership, and I hope to talk to you or see you at an event soon.